A massive, high-octane hello to everyone joining our live feed from all corners of the map. Whether it is morning, noon, or night where you are, we are thrilled to have you with us. The vibe inside our studio is absolutely off the charts right now, buzzing with pure adrenaline, because we are diving into a breaking story that is sending serious shockwaves across the professional tennis world. If you call yourself a tennis fanatic, a sucker for a Cinderella story, or just someone who lives for that raw, unscripted drama that only elite sports can deliver, you need to put down whatever you are doing and pay attention. What just went down under the bright lights of the Khalifa International Tennis and Squash Complex in Doha is nothing short of a seismic event. The ticker at the bottom of your screen might give you the score, but it cannot even begin to describe the absolute electricity that is crackling through the air in that stadium tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our coverage of the Qatar TotalEnergies Open, the very first WTA 1000 event of the 2027 season has just delivered a stunning upset that has busted brackets wide open and sparked a party from Doha all the way to Manila. We are watching history unfold in real time, folks, in a match that people are already dubbing the miracle in Doha. We are talking about the 20-year-old Filipina sensation Alexandra Eala, staring down one of the tour's most dangerous veterans, the Czech Republic's Karolina Muchova, and sending her packing against every single prediction. You need to take a second to really let the magnitude of this win sink in, because beating Karolina Muchova is not just another day at the office. We are talking about a Grand Slam finalist here. This is the same warrior who went toe-to-toe with Iga Swiatek on the red dirt of Roland Garros back in 2023 and nearly took the crown. She has been a semi-finalist at the US Open and has solidified her reputation as one of the absolute elite players on the roster. Ask anyone in the locker room or the commentary box, and they will tell you she has one of the most complete, technically gifted bags of tricks in women's tennis today. Muchova is the ultimate rhythm breaker, a player who uses that wicked backhand slice to keep the ball skidding off the court and staying uncomfortably low, backing it up with pinpoint serving and a touch at the net that makes her look like a magician with a racket. She is a battle-tested veteran who usually eats pressure for breakfast in the biggest stadiums on earth. And standing across the net was Alexandra Eala, the lefty fighter from Quezon City, a standout graduate of the Rafa Nadal Academy and the great tennis hope for a nation that is hungry for glory. We have followed Eala's journey from lifting junior Grand Slam trophies to becoming a gritty professional, grinding for every single point to climb the rankings. We saw flashes of her brilliance in Miami last season, and we watched her bring home the gold medal at the Southeast Asian Games late in 2026 to cap off her year. But let's be real, this is a different animal entirely. This is a WTA 1000 level event. This is the big leagues where the air is thin and the competition is fierce. When the draw pitted her against a heavyweight like Muchova, most pundits wrote this off as a tough learning experience for the young Filipina. They called it a warm-up for the veteran, not a breakout moment for the underdog. But tonight, Eala took that script and absolutely shredded it. Tonight, the master became the student. The final scoreline is one that is going to be talked about for a very long time. But it is not just that she won, it is how she won that has the whole place buzzing. We are hearing the atmosphere in the stadium felt less like a standard tour match and more like a rowdy Davis Cup or Billie Jean King Cup tie. The Filipino community in Doha came out in massive force, mobilizing to turn that arena into a thundering wall of noise, waving flags and screaming for every point. And their champion stepped up and delivered a performance of a lifetime. This victory is huge for so many reasons. First off, it is undeniable proof that Eala has officially arrived at the top table of women's tennis. Winning challenger trophies or bagging ITF titles is great and necessary work, of course, but taking down a major finalist on hard courts at a prestigious 1000-level tournament, that is a completely different stratosphere of quality. It tells the world that her fitness, her mental game, and that whipped lefty forehand are ready to crack the top 20. Secondly, this result throws the bottom half of the Doha draw into total chaos. Muchova was a legitimate dark horse to win the whole thing. Her early exit has blown the door wide open for everyone else. And third, this is just a perfect story of grit. Eala had to weather the storm of Muchova's tricky variety and tactical gamesmanship. She had to deal with the drop shots, the serve and volley ambushes, and the constant rhythm changes that usually drive baseliners crazy. But Eala stood tall. She didn't blink. Instead, she stepped inside the court and dictated the play. The handshake at the net told you everything you needed to know. You could see the sheer disbelief on the Czech star's face while Eala looked like she was on cloud nine, mixing pure joy with steely resolve. This wasn't luck. This wasn't an injury default. This was a tactical masterpiece, one with guts and racket speed, so do not go anywhere. We are about to dissect every single angle of this match. We are going to break down the key tactics, the turning points, the stats that matter, and the explosion of reactions on social media. We will look at exactly how this catapults Eala up the live rankings and what it sets up for the rest of the 2027 tour. This is the kind of deep dive coverage you are not going to get anywhere else. The headlines might say shock, but by the time we are done, you will see this has been coming for years. The lefty revolution is officially here. Keep it locked right here because we are jumping straight into the match that has shaken the foundations of Doha. If you are just tuning in now, a very good morning to you from wherever you are watching on the globe. We are live and underway. The energy is still spiking in the studio as we cover a developing story that is sending massive ripples through the tennis universe. If you are a fan of the sport, if you love seeing the underdog take the glory, or if you just live for the high-stakes drama of professional competition, you need to listen up. What has just transpired at the Khalifa International Tennis and Squash Complex in Doha is a total game-changer. The news ticker gives you the summary, but the electricity in the air tells you that we just witnessed something legendary. Strap yourselves in, folks, because the Qatar TotalEnergies Open, the grand curtain raiser for the WTA 1000 series of the 2027 season, has just detonated a massive bomb in the draw that is sending shockwaves through the sport. We are talking about a result so unexpected, so earth-shattering, that it has triggered a seismic wave of euphoria stretching from the islands of the Philippines to tennis communities all over the globe. What we have just witnessed is destined to go down in history as the miracle in the desert, a full-system shock that completely defies the established order. We are looking at the 21-year-old Filipino phenomenon, Alexandra Eala, stepping onto the biggest stage and refusing to blink while standing toe-to-toe with a bona fide legend of the modern game. She locked horns with the Czech Republic's Karolina Muchova, a player whose name is synonymous with artistry and danger on the tour, and Eala didn't just survive the encounter. She orchestrated a masterpiece of a victory. Let's pause for a moment to truly understand the magnitude of this giant slaying, because Karolina Muchova is not some standard early-round fodder you breeze past. We are speaking about a major finalist, the same relentless gladiator who stood on the red clay of Paris in 2023 and nearly toppled the queen herself, Iga Swiatek, in a match for the ages. This is a formidable U.S. Open semi-finalist. We are dealing with a woman whose resume commands absolute respect in every single locker room on the circuit. Ask any pundit, coach, or hardcore fan, and they will tell you Muchova possesses perhaps the most complete, dangerous, and intellectually complex toolbox in women's tennis today. She is the undisputed queen of disruption. Her backhand slice dies on the court, forcing opponents to scrape the paint. Her serves are guided missiles, and her touch at the net is nothing short of witchcraft. She is a battle-hardened veteran who eats pressure for breakfast, usually thriving when the lights are brightest and the stakes are highest on the massive stages. And staring her down across the net was none other than Alexandra Eala, the lefty pride of Quezon City, a Rafa Nadal Academy protégé, and the solitary torchbearer for a nation that is absolutely starving for its place on the tennis map. We have had a front-row seat tracking Eala's journey, watching her morph from a dominant junior Grand Slam champion into a gritty professional willing to fight for every single point to climb that WTA ladder. We caught glimpses of her brilliance in Miami last year, little flashes of lightning that suggested a massive storm was brewing just beneath the surface. We cheered when she snagged the gold medal at the Southeast Asian Games just a few months ago to cap off her 2026 campaign. But let's be honest, Doha is a different universe entirely. This is a WTA 1000 event. This is the Shark Tank, the major leagues where you face off against titans like Muchova, who have immense pedigree. When the brackets were released, the experts wrote this off as a good learning experience for the young Filipina star, a polite way of saying she was about to be schooled. They viewed it as a warm-up for Muchova and a reality check for Eala. They certainly did not predict a win. But tonight that script was torn into confetti and completely rewritten. Tonight the lesson was taught times by times Eala, not times to times her. While the scoreboard will record the numbers, it is the swagger, the audacity, and the poise of this victory that has the entire tennis world buzzing. Reports from the ground say the energy inside the stadium was electric, less like a standard first-round match, and more like the deciding rubber of a heated Billie Jean King Cup tie. The vibrant Filipino expatriate community residing in Doha came out in massive droves to support their golden girl. They transformed that arena into a boiling cauldron of noise, color, and unwavering passion, and their champion fed off that energy to deliver for them. This victory carries immense weight for so many reasons. First and foremost, it serves as undeniable proof that Eala has officially arrived at the elite table of women's tennis. Grinding out wins in challengers or collecting ITF titles is noble work, and it is a necessary part of the journey. But dismantling a major finalist on hard courts at a prestigious 1,000-level tournament, that is a completely different beast entirely. It sends a loud signal that her fitness, her mental steel, and that punishing lefty forehand are ready to do damage against the top 20 right now. Second, it completely wrecks the bottom half of the draw here in Doha. Muchova was a legitimate dark horse contender to take the whole title. Her early exit blows the bracket wide open for the rest of the field. And third, this is a beautiful story of resilience. Eala had to endure the full Muchova experience, the spins, the variety, and the tactical mind games. The drop shots, the serve and volley, surprises, the constant rhythm changes that usually drive baseliners crazy. Eala didn't crack. She didn't fold. She stepped inside the baseline and took the match by the throat. The scenes at the net during the handshake were incredibly telling. You could see a look of stunned disbelief on the Czech star's face, contrasted by a look of steely determination and pure, unadulterated joy on Eala's. This wasn't luck. This wasn't an injury default. This was a battle won decisively on the baseline, and even more importantly between the ears, so strap in. We are going to guide you through every single angle of this monumental match. We will dissect the tactical shifts, identify the key turning points, analyze the statistics that actually matter, and share the shockwaves from across the tennis world. We will examine exactly what this means for Eala's world ranking and her trajectory for the remainder of the 2027 season. This is the deep dive coverage you won't find anywhere else. The headline might say shock upset, but by the time we are done, you will see that this result was years in the making. The revolution has arrived, and it is undeniably left-handed. Stay locked in because we are diving straight into the match that has rocked Doha to its core. The opening set was a fascinating chess match of contrasting styles. Muchova started with a clear blueprint: keep the ball away from that lethal Eala forehand and ruthlessly test the youngster's net game. Muchova was serving with high intelligence, not relying on raw power but hitting her spots with surgeon-like accuracy. She was sliding the serve out wide to the Eala backhand to open up the entire court. In those early exchanges, Muchova looked incredibly comfortable and settled. She was deploying her trademark backhand slice to keep the ball staying low and uncomfortable. Now, for a player like Eala, who loves to grip and rip with heavy topspin, a low skidding slice is an absolute nightmare. You have to bend your knees deep, get under the ball, and generate all your own pace. Muchova broke serve early, racing out to a 3-1 lead. At this specific point, the shock upset seemed highly unlikely. The veteran was in total control of the tempo. She was moving Eala from side to side, dragging her in with drop shots, and then pushing her back with perfectly placed lobs. It was classic vintage Muchova, but the pivotal turning point of the first set, and arguably the entire match, arrived in the sixth game. Eala was serving while down 1-3, facing a break point that would have put her down a double break. If she loses that game, the set is virtually over, and Muchova cruises to the finish line. Instead, Eala dug deep into her reserves. She saved the breakpoint with a courageous high-risk cross-court forehand winner that painted the line by a single millimeter. It felt as if that solitary shot was the spark that ignited her entire performance. Once she managed to hold her service game and narrow the deficit to 2-3, her whole attitude underwent a radical transformation. The Filipino star immediately shifted into an attack-minded gear, planting her feet significantly inside the baseline. She abandoned the passive waiting game and began intercepting Muchova's slice shots early on the rise to drastically slash the reaction time. Adopting such a tactic is flirting with disaster, yet when you are locked in battle against a tactical mastermind like the Czech veteran, you simply cannot afford to let her dictate the rhythm of the exchange. The only way to win is to smother her with blistering pace and force her into making decisions before she is ready. That aggression paid off as Eala broke back to knot the set at 3 games apiece, seizing the moment on a rare double fault from the Czech icon and punishing some surprisingly sloppy forehand errors. From that point on, the set dissolved into a grueling physical standoff. Neither woman was willing to give an inch, guarding their service games jealously until the tiebreaker ensued. It was in this high-stakes shootout that Eala's rigorous training at the Rafa Nadal Academy truly began to pay dividends. She executed a game plan of patient yet controlled violence, relentlessly targeting the Muchova forehand wing until the cracks finally began to appear under the sustained assault. With the score deadlocked at a suffocating 5 points all in the breaker, Eala unleashed a thunderous inside-out forehand return straight off the second serve. That was not just a winner, it was a declaration of intent. She snatched the opening set 7 points to 6, sending the packed stadium into absolute hysterics. However, you do not reach the pinnacle of Grand Slam finals without a backbone of steel. Muchova came storming out of the gates in the second set, hell-bent on re-establishing the natural pecking order. She completely reinvented her tactical approach. Recognizing that Eala had found a comfortable groove in the baseline rallies, she decided to starve her opponent of any predictable rhythm. Muchova transitioned to a lethal serve and volley offensive and began floating high-looping moonballs to the backhand side to set up her aggressive charges to the net. This sudden change of pace threw a wrench in the machinery for Eala. The young challenger's timing evaporated, and she began to mistime shots she had been crushing earlier. As the unforced error count began to skyrocket, Muchova's full variety was dazzling to behold. We witnessed a spellbinding point at 2-1, where she feathered a drop shot with surgical precision. Eala sprinted forward to dig it out, only to watch the ball sail over her head in a perfect lob. She raced back for a desperate tweener but missed the boundary, allowing Muchova to bury the point with a ruthless smash. It was a brutal lesson in the disparity of experience and courtcraft. Muchova tore through the remainder of the second set, claiming it 6-2 with frightening efficiency. The momentum had swung 100% in favor of the veteran across the net, and the once raucous stadium grew noticeably silent. It seemed as if the seasoned pro had finally solved the puzzle. The narrative in the broadcast booth shifted to eulogizing Eala for a brave effort, while insinuating that Muchova was now destined to cruise through the decider. But this specific juncture is exactly where legends are born, and where the pretenders crumble into dust. Eala exited the arena for a bathroom break, a vital opportunity to hit the reset button, splash cold water on her face, stare into the mirror, and reaffirm that she belonged on this elite stage. When she stepped back onto the court, she looked like a woman reborn. Her intensity levels skyrocketed, infusing the opening games of the final set with an electric tension. 1 game all, 2 games all. Both gladiators held their ground, yet Eala was forced to expend significantly more energy just to keep her service games alive. Conversely, Muchova was breezing through holds, often winning at love or 15. The weight of the world pressed down on the 20-year-old, but the pivotal twist finally materialized at 3 games apiece. Standing on the receiving end, Eala seemed to make a silent vow that she was finished waiting for handouts. She was going to force the issue herself. She adjusted her stance, creeping further up to pounce on the return. To set the tone, she obliterated a winner down the line on the very first point. Love to 15. Muchova fired back with an ace to level it at 15 all. Then ensued a lung-busting 24-shot rally that culminated with Eala ripping a spectacular backhand down the line. That is a shot she keeps in reserve, yet she deployed it with flawless execution when it mattered most. 15-30. The crowd could sense a shift in the atmosphere. Chants of her name began to echo around the tennis complex. Muchova, usually the picture of ice-cold composure, suddenly looked visibly shaken. She faltered on her first serve. On the second delivery, Eala danced around her backhand and absolutely pummeled an inside-out forehand winner that screamed past the net. Muchova could only catch it with the frame of her racket. 15-40, 2 massive break points on the board. The Czech star erased the first threat with a masterful defensive volley, but on the second, they entered a heavy cross-court forehand duel right in Eala's wheelhouse. The lefty forehand cross-court into the righty backhand is a poison pill. She loaded the ball with immense topspin and revolutions per minute. Muchova attempted to change direction down the line, but the ball clipped the top of the tape and tragically tumbled back onto her side. The break was secured. Eala leads 4-3. Now came the most daunting task in tennis, consolidating the break. Serving with a lead against a world-class player deep in a third set is terrifying. Your arm feels as heavy as lead. The dimensions of the court seem to shrink. Serving at 4-3, Eala quickly dug herself into a 0-30 pit following 2 jittery errors. A collective gasp of horror swept the stands, but she steadied her nerves and fired 3 consecutive body serves to jam Muchova, clawing back to 30 all 40-30 and finally holding fast for 5-3. Muchova held her serve to bring it to 5-4, forcing Eala to serve for the match. This is the danger zone, serving for the biggest triumph of your life. Eala walked to the baseline, taking her time. She bounced the ball once, twice, 3 times to quell the pounding in her chest. First point, a courageous ace out wide, 15-0. Second point, a double fault betrayed her nerves, 15-all. Third point, Muchova attempted a drop shot. Eala sprinted down the court and pushed it past her into the open space, 30-15. Fourth point, Eala dictated play with her forehand to strike a pristine winner, 40-15. 2 championship points stood between her and glory. On the first, she missed her first serve. On the second, she opted for a high kick to the backhand. Muchova stepped in and absolutely demolished the return for a winner. 40-30. Only 1 match point remained. The tension was unbearable, and every soul in the stadium was on their feet. Eala struck a solid wide serve, forcing Muchova to stretch and chip the return back. Recognizing the short ball, Eala moved forward and did not hesitate for a heartbeat. She hammered a swinging drive volley deep into the corner. Muchova lunged in desperation, but the ball was already past her. Game, set, and match to Eala. The reaction was instant. She dropped her racket and buried her face in her hands. She shoots a quick glance up toward her player's box, her face radiating a raw, intoxicating mix of heavy relief and pure, unadulterated bliss. It was a respectful handshake at the net, sure, but the emotion pouring out of her is completely undeniable. While Muchova remains the absolute picture of grace and class even in defeat, you could practically see the competitive inferno raging behind Eala's eyes. She didn't just win a tennis match. She weathered the storm, absorbed the pressure, and outlasted a seasoned tour veteran. We really need to peel back the layers and dig into the statistics that truly defined this clash. First off, let's talk about breakpoint conversion. Eala had ice water running through her veins, looking absolutely ruthless when the chips were down in that do-or-die third set. Opportunities were thinner than air, and she didn't get many looks at a break, but she pounced on the solitary chance that actually moved the needle. Secondly, we simply have to highlight the points won on her second serve. Throughout both the opening frame and the final stanza, Eala protected her second delivery with brilliance, securing more than 60% of those points against a returner of Muchova's elite caliber. Honestly, that statistic is off the charts. It signals that she was landing her kick serve on a dime and immediately backing it up with a heavy commanding first shot to force the issue right from the jump. Even though we watched her unforced error count spike during that rocky second set, Eala managed to tighten the screws and polish up her game significantly the moment the third set got underway. She executed a strategy of controlled aggression, painting the big targets while striking the ball with immense authority. So why does this result come as such a shock to the system? It boils down to the massive gap in pedigree. You could point to the court surface or the historical data, but the real reason this upset happened is straightforward. Alexandra Eala has fundamentally transformed as an athlete. Gone are the days when she was just another ball striker relying solely on power. Today, she showcased incredible patience and proved she has the tools to completely dismantle a heavy slice game. We even witnessed her closing down the net, showing the world that she can execute a crisp volley when the situation demands it. This massive victory launches her deep into the tournament bracket. It not only successfully defends her points from the previous season, but adds a huge haul of WTA 1,000 points to her tally. A performance like this is likely to catapult her live ranking well inside the top 40. We are sailing into totally uncharted waters for a Filipino tennis player. But this result is about more than just a number next to a name. It is about building a reputation. The entire locker room sits up and takes notice of matches like this. Her colleagues on the tour now have to recognize that she is a genuine threat. You can no longer expect to simply grind her down physically. She possesses the artillery to hurt you and the heart to stay in the fight. Turning our attention to Karolina Muchova, this is certainly a stumbling block, but far from a catastrophe. We are still early in the 2026 season, and she simply ran into a buzzsaw of a player in a tricky environment. There is zero doubt she will bounce back from this, but tonight the narrative belongs entirely to the underdog. We also must address the sheer physicality required in this brutal contest. This battle raged on for more than 2.5 hours, and anyone who knows Doha understands that the humidity here can be absolutely draining on the body. Yet remarkably, Eala looked like the physically superior athlete in the dying moments of the match. Her fitness regime, which was clearly a major priority during the off-season, has paid massive dividends. She was chasing down heavy balls in the third set that she might have let go just 2 years ago, showcasing a scary new level of endurance and foot speed. Looking at the tactical warfare, the battle of the lefty against the variety player was decisively won by the southpaw today. The heavy topspin from Eala's forehand neutralized Muchova's low slice by keeping the ball deep and kicking high. Eala successfully pinned Muchova to the baseline, effectively denying her the ability to weave her signature web of delicate drop shots and sharp angles. It was quite frankly a masterclass in tactical discipline. So where does this result leave us as we look down the road? We are barely into the opening rounds of the Qatar TotalEnergies Open, and already the pre-written script has been completely torn to shreds. Alexandra Eala has officially graduated. She has arrived not as a prospect or a former junior champion, but as a bona fide contender at the 1000 level, having taken down a Grand Slam finalist. She has absolutely ignited the spectators here in Doha, and she has put the entire rest of the playing field on high alert. However, the path to the trophy does not get any smoother from this point forward. In an event of this magnitude, her next opponent will be equally formidable, perhaps a Rybakina, a Swiatek, or a Gauff. Yet what Eala proved tonight is that she doesn't just belong on the same court as these superstars, she possesses the capability to actually defeat them. For the legions of supporters watching back home in the Philippines, this victory represents a moment of immense national pride and celebration. For neutral tennis observers across the globe, it brings the thrill of witnessing a fresh face smash through the glass ceiling. The Doha shock is guaranteed to be the primary talking point of the week. Our team is committed to following Alexandra Eala's journey through this bracket, tracking every single step of the way. The questions now shift. Can she replicate this performance? Can she recover physically in time? Who will stand across the net next? We will bring you all the updates, post-match interviews, and expert analysis right here. If you found value in this deep dive into one of the most thrilling matches of the year thus far, please make sure you smash that like button. Your engagement is vital as it helps us continue bringing this level of in-depth sports coverage directly to your screens. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you do not miss our breakdown of the next round. Because if tonight was any indication, you simply cannot afford to miss what happens next here in Doha. I want to hear from you in the comments section below. Do you believe this stands as the greatest win of Eala's career to date? Furthermore, what is your prediction for how deep she can run in this tournament? Let us get the conversation started in the community. That is all for this broadcast. But the tennis continues, the drama escalates, and the meteoric rise of Alexandra Eala continues live from the Khalifa International Tennis Complex in Doha. Thank you so much for tuning into our coverage, and remember to keep your eyes on the ball. Good night, everyone.